Yeah, let's start. So, today's topic is about something called, Dockerfile. Let me just, sorry, Dockerfile. Let's see what is Dockerfile, and everything. To keep it simple, just in one line, what is this? Is to create our own images. To create our own images. So, for what we do, so we pull images right from, Nginx, whatever it is, like let's say, we pull it, whichever, available from Docker Hub, right? These are public images. We pull from there, from Docker Hub or any other repository, and we use it. Okay, which is fine. It's no issues. But we want to build our own image. So first thing we need to ask ourselves is why we need to build our own image. See, we have everything right. In Docker Hub, we can search for anything, whatever we want, and we can just download it. I mean, pull it. Sorry, and we can run our container, blah blah, use it, everything. But why we need to use our own, create our own image? What is the requirement? Simple. The requirement is, let's say, see, this is the public image. It means there is nothing inside it. So you pull it obviously, and you ran a container. Let's say, done, so you ran a container. It's working. Okay, it's running. Let's access it. Localhost, obviously, it'll work. So now this is the default image, right? Since it's from Docker, it's a default image. There is nothing configuration or code whatever required inside it. Let's say we want to use deploy our application into Nginx. Those does not come with deep image obviously, right? Because the code is ours. So we have to, on top of it, let's say there is a container. Now we have to use Docker CP to copy whatever our code is there, or let's say let's create something. Maybe some basic index.html. Hello, something. I'm just writing something. So let's say this is our code. So now we want to run this code using Nginx, right? So now what we have to do, obviously, we have to, there is no other option. As of now, there is no other option. We have to manually, once the container is created, we have to manually copy the index file and, blah, 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 and everything. That is one way. Another way is obviously, while running a container, uh, yeah, while running a container, we mount it. That is also one thing. Yeah. So one way is just copy it, the code, whatever it is, or if you have a folder, we have to mount it as a volume. Okay, that is also fine. But let's say, see how many times you mount a container whenever you run, or let's say your code has been updated now. Today they have updated the code. Got it? They updated the code and they push to GitHub. How you get that code into Docker container now? Even with volume, you can't do it, right? Every time what you do, you have to take a pull, you have to clone in local, take a pull and mount that local path in container, which is not again a good approach. To overcome all of these things, simply they have we have something called Docker file where we write something inside Docker file. Some instructions we'll write, and it will execute all those things. Finally, create our own image. So those instructions are the important things. What to write, what are the instructions, what to write, and everything. So the instructions nothing but your requirement. Let's say you have something. Let's say you want to clone your code, right? Obviously from GitHub or somewhere else. You write that in the Docker file. Let's say you want to copy some, something, some data. Let's say some configuration from your host to your Docker contain. I mean the image or container. You write that. So depends on what you want. You write all those things. And once you write the Docker file, what happens is you execute it. Once you execute, it will create an image. Once you execute, it will create an image. Instead of executing, we say once you build the Docker file, it will create an image. That's what we say. Got it? That's what we say. So all we have to do is what instructions are there in Dockerfile and how we pass it. I'll show you some sample Dockerfile. I'll write some sample and I'll explain it. First thing is Dockerfile. I'm just creating a file. See here, and I'll explain. Don't worry. For now, I'm just writing. I'm just copying some index file. Let's build it. I'll explain all of this. For now, I'm just showing you. That's it. We have our own image. Let's run it. One 81. It's working. You might have know what I did just now. Simple. I'll just say in 2 words, then we'll go. See earlier what we did, we have created a container, Nginx default, with the image, and we copied our code. Obviously, test is the container name. Now instead of that, I wrote some Docker file. Sorry, yeah. I wrote some Docker file and I just gave some commands. We'll see what are those things, but yeah, for now I just gave some commands, which what it did, it's copied the index.html, whatever I present to my destination path, wherever I mentioned. And finally, I build the new image. And once the image is built, we have like new image with I think the name is nginx-new. With the new image, I created a container. So by default, I did not copy anything, any code now, some extra anything, right? But because if you observe, I built it while building itself, it's copied. Of course, sorry, I can't highlight it, you can't see it. While building the image itself, we are copying whatever we needed. And we run the image, obviously, the data is present. So like that, all we have to do is create a Docker file, write some instructions, which we will discuss now. So remember, whenever we are pulling something, we'll see something like this. Let's pull something else. Docker pull in Jenkins slash Jenkins vulnerability. Let's see. See, whenever you pull it, any image, let's take any image, any image. See, it is pulling like this. And of course, you might have seen pulling FS layer something. See, these are all layers present inside a Docker image, including this, sorry. These are all the layers present inside the Docker image. These layers are present in every image. Depends on how they wrote the Docker file or how they build it. What are these layers then now? In Dockerfile, for God's sake, let me just move it. In Dockerfile, no matter what the instructions we wrote, there are so many things that we'll see. No matter how many instructions we wrote, those are all considered as single layer. Now it is two layers because we wrote two instructions. In the Jenkins image, I think how many are there? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 layers are that means 12 instructions they have defined in Dockerfile. I mean, not our Dockerfile, whatever they have used to build this image, whoever is build this image, I mean, not us. Similar way, we can able to build our own images. We can able to build our own image and we can able to run, deploy our own images. Got it? So all we have to do is write a Docker file with the instructions and that's it. What are those instructions and how to write it? That we'll see today. Because we will be writing Docker files. We will be writing Docker files. So eventually we need to do all this. So there are multiple instructions. The first will be from. The first line in the Docker file should be from. FROM from obviously seen. It's and of course I'm from space. Observe here. From I gave in capital letters. S- Space I mean norm, the image, whatever it is. What does from means is it's referring to base image. What does it mean base image? See, we are creating our own image, right? Let's say you're building a house. What you do first? You'll create some foundation. On top of it, you build it. Correct. Below foundation, what is there? Obviously, land is there. Correct. It's like on top of something, you're building something. See, if you want to build a house, you just can't, create a land, right? It's already exist. You just using the land on top of it, you're building your own house. Similarly, here you're building your own image on top of what? You have to use some other image to create your own image by default. Or you can build from scratch, which is also there. But for now, you have to use some other image as base image to create your own image. Got it? You have to use a base image to create your own image. So as a base image, I'm just using Nginx colon Alpine. Instead of Nginx, I can able to use anything, whatever I want. Depends on my requirement, as I told you. I'll use this Ubuntu, which is fine. Now on top of it, we write some instructions as I told you in Dockerfile, and those instructions will be applied on this base image. And when we build, we will see the output one by one. So on top of we need to use base image in our Docker file in the first line so that on top of this only we are building our own image. There is something called Scratch also, base image, where we can able to set up from scratch. Like, yeah, depends on all your requirement. Let's say a Python application. You'll of course use the Python image as a base. You have Java, you'll use Java as a base image or Tomcat as a base image, whatever it is. As I told you, right, depends on the requirement, you use that. Correct? We don't just use randomly. For now, example, I'm just showing you what depends on the use case or the requirement, you use this one. And of course, depends on size also. See, imagine now, from this is the base image, on top of it, we'll install something, we'll, like, we'll have our own things. This is 60 MB, let's say. Our own things maybe another 100 MB, 160 MB, right? Or maybe our things got 1 GB. It means 1.1 GB. 60 MB, it's okay, 1 GB, it's got increased. So they'll make sure the size also should be very less. Dockerfile, correct? So from is the base image which so base image I want to use Ubuntu because on top of that only I want to build my Docker image. So depends on your use case as I told you. Next, what else is there? Maintainer. This is really not required, but yeah, you can use author who some metadata they'll give, like, who wrote this Docker file, for what purpose, or let's say what time they wrote, blah blah blah. It's okay. It's not even required, of course. If you wanted, you can add it, maintainer, or your name and all. If not, remove it. It's completely fine. See, there is nothing wrong. Next, there is something called env, environment variables. Like we are setting environment variables in the image. A is equal to 10 as an example. Maybe one more env, b is equal to 20, something random. I'm just giving. Next, we have something called run. Run means to execute anything, to execute anything while building the image. See, we'll build the image now eventually after writing this. While building the image, you want to execute something. Yeah, maybe I want to apt update -y, obviously. Maybe I want to update one more thing. Apt install something. Apt install wget as an example. I'm just saying curl, like small packages, right? Like this, I can able to write. What else? Mm, User. This is like as which user you want to run this Docker file. Let's say I gave something user as an example. I'm just giving. And here below I ran some commands apt install nginx-y. So now whatever the instructions I wrote below after this user will run as this user, test user. Now by default this will run as root user. By default, not Ubuntu, most of the Docker images have root user. So usually what some people do, they don't want to use root inside the Docker container. They'll they'll use the user. And as this user, they'll run the commands. But remember again, this user does not exist yet. You have to create it. Then only you can able to use it. As of now, we have what you have to do then before using that user, add an instruction called run, add that user add command. But of course, I don't want to create it, but I'm just saying. Like this, okay, you can able to use user. Remove this. Next, what else? Work directory. Work directory is it's like a CD actually. If you specify this, let's say maybe slash root as an example, I'm just saying. So now, once this comes, or the while building image, it will go inside this root directory. Why? Maybe we have a requirement that we need to go inside directory. There might be a file we need to read it or something, whatever it is. So if you tell that work directory slash some path, it will go inside that. Now, what are the commands below I write? Let's say I wrote like to create one touch, some file. So now what happens? This will create in slash root because I told here. These are all fine. We can able to execute it anywhere. But work directory is I give slash root means it will go to slash root, then execute these commands, whatever present. So touch blah blah blah. So this will create in slash root like that. It's fine, keep it. I'll see. What else? Hmm, there is something called expose. Expose is like a port number. You can give comma space, blah blah blah. For anything like this, you can able to. It means, see, we were discussing until now, right? Container ports, container ports. This is how we expose the container ports. Container ports. So what happens is, how do I know what to expose first thing? See, it depends again on our requirement. I know that I'm going to expose. We have to know it obviously because you are running something, maybe Apache, Nginx, whatever it is. You have to know the port number, right? That's why you have to expose it. If you're using Jenkins or something, Apache or Tomcat or something, 8080 or Nexus 8081, blah blah blah, blah, so many things. So depends on requirement, you have to expose this port. These are container port. Remember again, not host port. These are container ports. Got it? What else? After expose, I know a few things, but before that, is there anything? No, no. Oh, I forgot. Sorry. Copy. Copy. If you want to copy some folders or files from your host to your Docker image, yeah, you can use this. Let's say I have a folder called a test. I want to copy to slash etc. Something as an example, I'm just giving. It will copy. It will copy, obviously. Let's say I want to copy a file. What you do? You give a file name instead of test. That's it. That's the only thing. Let's say maybe index.html I have. It will copy. Remember, slash is important at the end. It means you're copying to a folder. I told you somewhere, I guess. So if you don't give slash, what happens now? It will think it will copy this file as this name etc to slash path. Yeah, while Docker CPU we have seen this, right? That's why slash means to this folder, please copy this, whatever it is. That's what important. You can give, but of course, always remember one thing. Let's say your Docker file is in some path now, right? So what you can do is with copy, you can copy whatever present in that folder only. Present in that folder only. Let's say you have some other path slash etc slash opt, some data is there, but your Docker file is in some other place, you cannot copy because it does not allow. Docker file only allows copy from the directory wherever the file itself is present. Got it? So if you want to copy something, make sure those data present in the same path as Docker file. Got it? That's all. Next, what's next? There is something called add. Add also like copy only. Like add can also copy the file. Same thing. You can just give slash test slash etc something whatever the path it is. It can also copy same thing. But why the hell there are two? Copy just copies files or directories. It does not do anything extra. Correct. But add can do little extra. Of course, there is nothing extra to be done while being copied. Some other things like add can copy the things whatever we have seen now. Add can download the files from internet. Add, let's say, download the files. Maybe there is a sample war file. Let's see it. Any file. I know this. Suddenly I remember this. That's why I came here. You can download any file. So this is the URL, and we have to key give the destination where to download. Maybe slash home. So add. It will download whatever the file from here URL and save it here. So this feature also exists for add. And there is one more feature. Let's say if you give a zip file or tar file to add, and you can say to untar it or unzip it, it'll do it. That also exists. So these three extra features are there for add, but for copy, just copy it. That's it. Just copy the files folder, whatever it's present. So that's the difference. Usually they'll ask, what is the difference between copy and add? Copy just copies it. Add, sorry, add, it will add. It can copy the files as well as it can able to download the files from URLs if we mention and sorry, it can unarchive the files. Unarchive means it'll both tarring and zipping will come. Unarchive the files and directories. So these three advantages add has. If you just copy, use copy, that's fine. If you want add also, you can use add also, which is fine. See, whichever is comfortable, both are there. So this is about add. What else is there? Blah 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 blah. See, so many are there. See the instructions. Of course, we don't do any. We don't use this much. We have your final things. Yeah, finally there is one. This we'll discuss later. So these we have something called CMD, command. Obviously, CMD means this also executes some command, whatever the command we give. But you may say, okay, there is run. Run also does the same thing, right? We can give some commands to run, it will execute. That's what we did so far. See, some apt commands we give, touch command we give. So it will also execute that. But why the CMD is required now? Both are for same purpose, executing some command, something, whatever it is. But the difference comes when they do that. When they do that. See what happens. Sorry. Run will execute the commands at a build time. During build means during when we're building the image, run will execute the commands. Whatever the commands we gave in run. But CMD is different. So now CMD, when this will execute, once the build image is ready, once we create a container, right, from this build, from this image, sorry, then the CMD starts executing. I'll write some sample thing. What else? MKD or something. So now what happens now is, while building the image, this all will get executed except this. This will get executed when we create a container out of the image. See, just like how we did with Nginx new, and we created it, right? So now what happens? Similar way, we create our own image with this by executing this, and we run a container out of that. Then when you run a container, this will get executed. This again most important thing. What is the difference between run and CMD? They'll ask. Both are used for same purpose, executing commands. But the difference is when they want to execute. The difference is run will execute at a build time. Run will execute at build time. Build time means whenever we build the Docker image, during build you can say. CMD, will execute during container creation. When we create a container, the CMD starts executing. Why like that? I mean, why that behavior like that? Can't the CMD also run during build time? Yeah, it can do, but that's not the point of CMD over here. See, Nginx, take Nginx image or something else or Jenkins. When you create container out of the using that image, its container will run, right? Means internally something is running. For Nginx image, let's say Nginx is running within the container. That's why the container is also running. How that runs the container, sorry, how that Nginx runs inside it with the help of CMD, or there is some one more else, but yeah, for now with the help of CMD it will run. See, whatever you write, whatever the command you write here, container life depends on this command. See, now what happens? mkdir test I wrote. It hardly takes a second, right, to execute this command, and it will get success. The command will get success or fail, whatever it is, but the execution will be finished maybe within a second. Now you know what happens if I build this image and sorry, if I build this image and if I run the container, as I told you, container life depends on it, which means the container will run for 1 second until this command executed, and then it will be deleted. It will be stopped, sir, not deleted. It will be stopped because there is nothing to run for the container. There is nothing to run. Container, if you run a container, it means there has to be something to run inside. So based on that only container also will run. If there is nothing inside it to run, container cannot run, right? Obviously. See, it means there has to be some process running inside it. So best example, all these containers, whatever we have used so far, Nginx, let's say Nginx image means inside that Nginx is running forever. It will be running. That's why the container is running like that. If Nginx stop for some reason or some errors or some other thing, Nginx is not running, the container will be stopped, right? So whatever you give here, that has to be running forever. As of now, I don't have Nginx anything, nothing here. What I need to do? Use some command. There is command called dev null command where it will run forever. It does not do anything. It does not stop also. It will just keep on running. But yeah, for now, let's keep it CMD, mkdir test, because I want to show you how it works. Got it? That's about CMD. The container life depends on it. CMD. CMD. Got it? So next, what else? Apart from CMD, of course, you can able to use CMD. There is something called entry point. Again, which is important. See, specify default executable. Specify default commands. As I told you, these two, CMD and entry point, both used for same purpose, and both, I mean, container life depends on both, whatever you use in the Dockerfile. I can use it like this. What is the command? mkdir test something. I'm just showing you basic, that's it. So what happens now? Same thing. Same command CMD also we gave, right? Why the hell? Then what the hell is difference between them? Now let's say imagine now. mkdir test I passed. Now while running the container, I want to change the entry point. While running the container, remember while running it, I want to change it. With the CMD, it's not possible. With the CMD, once you write CMD mkdir test, we cannot change it. I mean, we can change it, but it will override. Imagine, let's say mkdir test we wrote as of now, right? CMD. And while running a container, we wrote mkdir test 2 as an example. So CMD has test, mkdir test. Now we have mkdir some new command test 2. So the test 2 will get executed. mkdir test, whatever present in the Docker file, will get override because you passed a new argument to CMD. That's what happening. Got it? You know what I'm saying? When you pass a new argument while while executing it, when you pass it, I'm telling you again, it's not like mandatory to pass it. Whenever you pass it, only that argument will be taken to the CMD. The whatever the argument or whatever the command present inside the Docker file will be ignored. This will happens when you use CMD, but when you use entry point, it won't skip override or it won't skip anything. It will execute both arguments. Let's say with entry point I go mkdir test. Now I pass one more argument while running the image. Maybe mkdir test 2 means it will execute this command and whatever the command newly passed, that also. So entry point won't skip anything, won't override anything. It will execute all the arguments, whatever you have passed. But CMD only executes one argument because that's how it works. CMD executes only one argument. What is that one argument? Whatever the new you have passed. Let's say you did not pass any new argument. CMD will just execute whatever present here. That's it. There is nothing wrong in that. If you think you don't change the arguments, of course you can pass it. If you think the arguments may change, depends on like the requirement again. Use entry point. Again, this is one of the things they'll ask similar to add and copy. What is the difference between CMD and entry point? Most commonly asked if you in a Docker. Simple thing, don't get confused. What is what is the difference between entry point and CMD? Just one thing, only one thing. CMD accepts only one argument. It will override the older arguments if you pass any new one. But entry point can execute multiple arguments. It won't override anything. It will take the old argument as well as the new argument, whatever we have passed. How to pass a new argument, that we'll see, don't worry, later. But for now, this is how it works. Got it? That's all about Dockerfile. Of course, there is one more instruction which I'll tell you. Mm, there is something called arg. Arg is like, we can pass an argument while building an image, which can be used anywhere. Let's say, here, if you see env, I hard coded it, right? A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20. I want to pass this env value while building the image. So at that time we can able to use arg. I mean, not just for env, anything we can able to use arg. So let's arg name, sorry, name is equal to, there is nothing value. Now I want to pass, what I'll do is like, I want to pass the env as a name env, let's say small, and I'll use this dollar name. Whatever the value I'm passing here, I am using here with the dollar. It's a Linux kind of variable. See here, it's Linux kind of thing. So now what happens? Whatever the value we pass, it will apply to this env variable. If you don't pass, it will be empty, obviously. If you pass it only, it will be used. Anywhere, let's say you want to install the package like this, I'll pass wget maybe here, argument. Dollar name, you can able to use it. This variable can be used now anywhere. I mean, this one, sorry. This one or whatever, this one, you can able to use it. It's like you are passing the build arguments and so that you can able to use that anywhere instead of hard coding it. You can pass multiple build arguments. As of now, I'm just showing only one. So this is Dockerfile basic one at least. What we have from base image. Obviously, every Dockerfile, remember again, has to start with from only. Got it? And every Dockerfile ends with either CMD or entry point. As I told you, this is what the container life depends on. This is what the container uses to. This is what Docker uses to create the container. Depends on all these commands. What is this? This command. Now, of course, for now, we give sample things. And when the requirement depends on the requirement, we'll write those things. It's okay. Let's build this image now. Now, Dockerfile is ready. Now, these are all considered as layers until, yeah, see here. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 are there. Like this, here 20 are there. In our Docker file, there are 13. It means we have 13 layers, excluding Docker base image. 13 layers. Got it? Now build it. How to build it? Simple. There is command called Docker build. Before building, remember, right? The name of the file should be like this Docker file by default. Of course, you can keep any name, but default, this is what it expects. Capital D. Now let's write the command Docker build hyphen T. T means tagging. See, you're building a new image for yourself. You have to give the image name and the tag, right? What will give? Test v1 version 1 something as well. And you have to give Docker file path or name here. So name is the default Docker file. So you don't need to give the name. Just give dot. It means this will look for file called Docker file in this folder, the current wherever we are there. It said your name is different. It's not Docker file. Maybe it's something else. Hyphen F. Pass it. Pass the file name. Let's say your file name is test. Pass it, and again you have to give dot because this is the path. This is the file name. It will look in this path. Let's say your Docker file is in different path slash home slash users, like in this path, let's say. So it will look for this file in this path. Like this you can able to write. Or you can give like this. It means in this path that there is a file called Dockerfile, a default file. So of course I don't have, currently I have only dot, which means default file name in the current path, which will get executed. It's failed. Something, say something is failed. Invalid container port 80 something. See here, it's showing you what is the error exactly. Line number 10, open it. The error, why? I think this one, expose. No need to give comma, just a space is fine. So now like this, it will show you what is this error. Now, of course, you have to rebuild again because it's failed, right? Rebuild. Now again, it failed for some reason. I told copy the test folder to etc using add, but where the hell is test folder? There is nothing. Create a test folder just for now. Let's build it again. Sorry. Again, something. Index.html also is not there. See, of course, index.html. Let's create it. It was there in the older path. Okay, it's fine. So now it's copying. No, now it started executing. See, observe here. The commands, observe the layers 2 by 8. It will come everything whatever we mention. It'll execute one by one. See, second command. It'll execute one by one. It'll get executed. Whatever we wrote. It'll see. This is what happening in the background. See here. See, it's exporting to image, exporting to layer. It means it's done. The image is ready. Observe here the layers. Whatever we wrote, everything is present here. Of course, it's in blue. If I select it, you won't see it. But one by one, it will execute everything whatever we present. Now, of course, check the images. See, test V1, 251 MB. We have the image ready. See, now we can use this image to create a container, obviously. Before creating, let's see one more small thing. Let's say this is Dockerfile, right? You changed something. Maybe you added something. What else? Just Nginx, something. Now what happens? You have to rebuild the image again because you changed the Docker file. That won't go automatically. You have to rebuild the image. Of course, if you want to, you can change the tag, but I just for now I'm just keeping it. Observe here, it started from apt install kernel update. It skipped the update. See, before apt install, we have apt update, right? Which is skipped. You know why? Because it took from cache, CSCH cache. Don't say cache, something is cache. That's it. Because it took from cache. What we changed? We changed only that line. Sorry, let me show you in the Docker file. We changed this line, not anything here, right? So this all took from cache. I changed it here. Obviously, the cache is gone for this one, and not only for this line. Whatever the lines present below that, the cache will be gone. That's how the Docker file cache works. So when you build the image for the first time, no, see, no, I build the image, right? I did not change anything. Let's build again. See how much fast it took because it's cached. See everything here, cached, blah 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 something. What happens is when you build the image multiple times with the same tag without changing the Docker file, without changing a single line, it will it will give you from cache. But of course, if you change something, the cache will be gone and the Docker file will start executing again. Got it? That's how cache works. And of course, if you change something in Dockerfile, you have to build it. Let's say you're cloning. Of course, I did not write that command, but in run, you wrote git clone some branch, some URL. Developer have pushed it. Correct? Developer have pushed it. Some change, latest change. You have to build a Docker image. Then on the latest change will come. You can't expect, I already cloned it, right? You cloned it. After you cloned, they pushed it. It means you have to rebuild the image. All this they'll do in the Jenkins pipeline, whatever the pipeline there is. We will also see that. Don't worry. Got it? So now my image is ready. And the layer, these are all the layers I have. Like, no matter how many commands are there, those are everything considered as single layer. Now run it. Docker run -d blah blah blah. Hyphen p is not required. There is nothing running inside it. Hyphen name test. What is image? Test colon v1, right? Oh, there is already container name test. Something, yeah, I'm not test one. See, the container will be stopped. Observe here. This is the command. It's got executed last. mkdir test, which is what we have. As I told you, these are all commands will get executed during Docker image build. But this one or CMD, if you have, those will get executed when you create a container. Now I created a container, right? The entry point start executing. Of course, it's exited. Why? Because the task is done. Check the log, Docker log. The task is done. There is no output, obviously. There is nothing to show you. The task is done. It means the container task is done. Container time is over. It's stopped. But why these are running? Because in these images there is something running. There is some process running which keeping the container running. Maybe Nginx is running. Obviously, this Nginx. Nginx will be running. That's why the containers are running still. Because once the Nginx stopped running, the containers will also stop. That's why, as I told you earlier, right? We have to make sure the entry point or CMD, whatever we wrote, should be running always. So that the container also will run always. See, eventually we build the image. Why we build the image? To run a container, which means to run the container without failures or something, right? But you wrote I wrote, sorry, Docker mkdir test, which executed within seconds. It's not running forever. So now since we don't have Nginx, of course we have installed Nginx, right? We can write entry point to run Nginx. See, I don't know how to figure out that. Nginx entry point or CMD. It'll only give, or of course ChatGPT is there, you use it. See, they give the command CMD like this, you can able to use it. I mean, this will start running forever. Let's remove this thing. So now whatever the command we give now, it should running forever. Then only say nginx -daemon now. It will run in background. Let's see. Foreground, sorry. Now of course I changed it. I have to build the Docker file again, which is common. Where is it? Yeah, see. Same tag. I don't want to change the tag. Of course it's cached. Why everything is cached? As I told you, the entry point or CMD will execute when the when we start container, not while building it. But of course we need to build that because then only the change will pick up by the container. Even though the command, whatever the CMD or entry point we gave, it won't run during the build time, but still we need to update the Docker file because that change has to be reflected. Now run the same command. Obviously, first remove all the containers. What else is there? Nginx. So let's remove all the containers. Now run our thing. Run -d -p. Let's map it now. 80, right? Hyphen name test. What is the test colon v1? This is it. Now let's see whether the container is stopped or running. Sorry, SA is fine or A. See, it's running. Why the hell it's running now? Because whatever the command we gave, it's running still. Nginx is running still. Let's open 80. See, welcome to Nginx. You ran it. Simple. Where is it? Yeah, see this one. So, as I told you again, whatever you write in that CMD or entry point, your container life depends on it. Imagine Nginx also down for some reason. Your container will be stopped. Means there is something wrong. You have to figure it out. You have to check the log, blah blah blah, all these things. So that's all. Let's go inside a container. Of course, we can go it. What is the name? Test, right? Yeah, container is /bin/bash. Why the /bash worked now? Why the hell it was not working earlier? Because this image test v1 we built on Ubuntu, right? Would have shell by default. That's why it worked. That's why same simple. Based on base image only it will come. Export. See, A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, which we gave in Dockerfile. See the name, it's empty, as I told you. We haven't passed any argument. That's why it's empty. Let's come out of it again. Let's delete this also container for now. See, it's expecting argument to pass while building it. As I told you, ARG, we need to pass it while building, but I haven't passed anything, obviously. Oh, okay. We haven't seen this touch command where it's created or not, but it will be creating. Don't worry. This etc, all these things will be created. We'll see it again. Don't worry. Now, let's pass the build argument and let's see. Of course, this also will see. Don't worry. Same thing. Docker build command only, which we need to use. Except we have to pass new thing. Hyphen build hyphen r. What is it? Name. Name is equal to something. Agile something. Now this will be passed to Docker build. Since that's what we did so far. Of course, the argument is passed. The cache is gone. Why like that? That again, same thing. The argument line is before the APT update, I believe. So what I told you, if you change some line, whatever the lines below, for them the cache will be gone, as I told you, right? Same thing happened here. The ARG line, we're passing the value now. It means it has been changed. Earlier there was no value. Now the value has been added. So the cache is gone, whatever the lines below that. Here, see, I passed it. All these cache for these lines are gone. That's why it built again. If I pass the same name without changing anything, obviously, cache. If I change the name, it will again, the cache is gone. See, like that. The arguments. Build arguments, we can, like not just one, we can define multiple build arguments and we can able to pass all those things. Hyphen if build argument, name is equal to something. Hyphen if build argument, something is something. Depends on what you wrote. Like that we can able to do it. There is no limitation like one only like that. Let it run. It's not finished yet. This Dockerfile topic will continue tomorrow also. For now, we just wrote it something. That's it. Docker images. Test one. Where is this? Yeah, see, 9 seconds. So run it. Docker. Yeah, why to run the full command? Somewhere it will be. Yeah, this one, right? I'm inside. Let's go inside Docker exist type on IT. Yeah, see, slash root is created. Let's go to slash home. See, sample.var is downloaded. See, we told in add, right, to download. What else? Go to etc. etc. Sorry, there will be lots of things in etc. etc. What we told? We told to create something. What is the file name? Test, I guess. Index.html. Where is the index? See, index.html. We copied it. See, simple. There will be test somewhere. TTT. Where is TTT? There should be. I don't know. I can't see it. T. Did we do it? Yeah, we copied it. Test will be somewhere here. Okay, so why to time waste? PQRST. I think I did not add it. It's okay. It's fine. So like that, whatever you wrote, that will get executed. You can able to see the output, right? Obviously. Of course, with this you can able same thing. See, we just build our own image. That's it. The container, mount it, change the name, blah blah blah, anything, whatever you can able to use, you can able to use it. That's all about how we write the Docker file. Of course, it's not finished as I told you. We'll be discussing tomorrow also, but yeah, that's how the Docker file is. Alright. See, if index.html not present in this path or this one, because we are copying from Docker file, this will eventually fail. Got it? I'll tell you one maybe on some last command, right? Let's say I'm inside here. There is no Docker file obviously here, right? The Docker file is in downloads. How the hell I need to build it? So Docker build command only. Test colon v2 maybe. Hyphen f downloads dot fail to read Docker file. Okay, 1 minute. But is it not present? It's present, right? Obviously. My bad. Yeah, sorry. Now let's try again. See, we have to pass the file, sorry. It's executing now. It'll throw some other error now. Observe it. Again, it's saying dot test or whatever the index file is not found. Why the hell? It's present, right? It is present in the path where the Docker file exists. Correct? In downloads, we have a Docker file. Obviously, we have seen where is it in test also already there, everything. Why the hell it's throwing again? Why? Because we are not executing from there. The thing is, the files, whatever we are copying, should be present from where we are executing in that path, not where the Docker file exists. Now, what I'm saying? If you're copying something, the file should be present wherever you are executing from. Here, not from wherever the Docker file is present. So in order to pass this, you need to have test file or index file here. Let's mkdir test. Let's build. Let I create a right. Let's build. See, done like that. So the files, whatever you wanted to copy, should be present in the directory where from where you are execute, not ex, don't say execute, from where you are building the image. Got it? Earlier we used to build from downloads only. So the files were present in downloads. It worked. Now we are present. Sorry, now we are present inside some other path. So the file should be present in that path. Got it? You can change anything. Let's say you want to change the touch. Something. Just change it. Obviously, you know this, right? I changed it. It means I need to build it. Dot is fine. It's because I'm in the same path. 3 seconds ago. Like this, you can build any Docker image depends on your requirement. But this is one of the worst Docker files ever. No one writes like this. Why? That we'll discuss tomorrow. Why the hell this is what's wrong with this? Of course, the commands and Docker build what success. It means the commands are success. It's not the commands, it's something else. That we'll see tomorrow. Alright. So far, we just seen what is Dockerfile, what is used for, and how to write a Dockerfile. Of course, we have seen how to write a Dockerfile. Tomorrow we'll see how to write it better. That's the thing. How to write it better. That's important, right? See, anyone can write Dockerfile. We can simple get it from ChatGPT or anyone. But how efficiently you write, or how efficiently you write the code, that's where lies, all these things. So this is not an efficient Dockerfile, obviously. So we'll figure it out why it's not blah 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 something. So that will be for tomorrow's topic. Right. So yeah, any doubts so far, in today's class? Any questions? These are all present in the document again, I'm telling you. So go through once. Today Thursday, right? Okay. So tomorrow we'll close Docker file. Friday it will be. Saturday we'll have Docker compose. We might need to. Yeah, let's see. That's okay. Not now. Let's meet tomorrow same time then. Okay. All right. Ping me if any doubts. Everyone. Bye. Well, have a nice day.